Hi all, and welcome to my channel, Fred Makes Things. This is the long-awaited Sewers Club October 2021 project review video. It was supposed to go up last week, but life got in the way, and we're doing it now. I've mentioned in a couple of previous videos that my in-laws visited, and I didn't have time to do this. And as I get into talking about the project, I'll explain a little bit more about that. So if you haven't seen, this is part 2 of the October Sewers Club series. Part 1 was the unboxing of this box. And in this one, I'm going to talk about the project, my thoughts, opinions, that sort of thing. I break this up into 4 parts usually. Part 1 is discussing what came in the box. Part 2 is the method of making it, I guess. Part 3 is pros, cons, and user error. And then part 4 is my final thoughts and opinions. And I usually ramble quite a bit through that. So, further ado, let's get started. So, normally I have everything stacked into this box, right? And then I open it up and I'm like, this is what's left. This is what came in the box, that sort of thing. But I'm filming this Tuesday night at 7:30 with a plan of getting this video up Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. And I just couldn't be bothered to refill the box. Normally, as I'm going, I'm stacking things back into the box to make my life easier, but I did not do that this time, and my life is not much easier. So we're going to talk about, we're just going to take the box off the screen because it doesn't really matter. First off, we're going to talk about the patterns, what came in the box. So in every box, you get your little card that tells you everything that's included in the box, right? The front is usually your fabric and things. The back are your bonus items. And then you're also, if you spend an extra $10 a month, you get a add-on Notion. I didn't say this before, but I will flash up on the screen the individual pricing that you can do. So a monthly subscription for this box is $32.99, I believe. And then, like I just said, the add-on Notion is an extra $10. But if you pre-purchase, right, chunks of months ahead of time, you can save some money. Anyway, coming back to this. Yeah, so this was the project for this month, right? Or this was the fabric. And then these were the 2 projects that you had. This was the official project with video instructions. I always do this one. And then this was the alternate instructions. I kind of wish I had done this one. But both have detailed instructions on the back. I don't know where my camera is, I'm sorry. But both have detailed instructions on the back. And then this one, because it has the video instructions online, I just covered that up with some tape. Well, my husband did. I did not. Yeah, so that's those. What came in the box for me were the panels that you see here. Fusible fleece and the coordinating color. The coordinating color was orange, and then the fusible fleece. Now I'm going to show you what I have left from that. I don't have much. I have some of these pieces from the binding. I have a large piece of fusible fleece left over, which is cool. I have some like pieces of fleece, and then I just have like a couple pieces of my backing pattern, or my backing fabric. This project was very precise in your measurements, and if you weren't paying attention, you might not have had enough to pull this off. Okay, now we are going, we'll put these back up. Now we are going to talk about, oh, and here's the bobbin case. Sorry, I haven't filled it yet. I'm excited to. I just haven't had the time. Okay. Part 2. Making this guy. So, as always, I ironed the project, or I ironed all the fabric first. There wasn't a whole lot to iron, right? It was the panel with the coasters, the backing fabric, and then the coordinating fabric. Then I cut out all of the pieces. Here's where it got a bit tricky. Their measurements called for, of the backing, 14 by 19.5, 2 of them, and then 4.5 by 4.5 for the coasters, and excuse me, and I didn't have enough space. I didn't have enough. I only had, after cutting 4.25 inches for the coasters, which annoyed me. And then it especially annoyed me because in the next step, yeah, it was in the step after that I saw that I had a bit of wiggle room. So from cutting them out, you then fused the fusible fleece right onto your front sections of fabric. Then I piled up the back section with the front sections, and for the placemats you did wrong sides together because you were binding them, and for the coasters you did right sides together because you were only sewing them together. So I pinned everything together, and that is when I saw that I had about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch wider of my backing fabric. And if I had measured things out and placed things slightly better, or if the instructions hadn't told me to do 19.5 inches and had told me to do like 19.25 inches or 19 inches or something, everything would have fit better. But it didn't, and that annoyed me. Like, I don't know if it's just the panel is slightly off, or if it was my cutting that was slightly off, or what. But if you were extremely precise in your measurements, right, and you double checked the size of your panel before cutting, you probably could have saved, or I should say, I could have saved myself a lot of annoyance and heartache. Yeah, so everything was pinned, and then I took the coasters directly to the sewing machine and sewed those together. And I also ironed the binding pieces, or actually, sorry, I sewed the binding pieces together and then I ironed them. And then I started planning out the quilting. And this is where things took a turn for the worse. The video instructions suggested you could, if you were adept enough, freehand the quilting, and I was like, ooh, maybe I'll try that, because I was kind of tired of just doing grid quilting. And it was awful. It did not work well for me. I don't know what happened. I ended up breaking a needle. I replaced that needle with a different needle, and that turned out to have been bent or something, and then I was having a hard time, so I gave up. And then I started tracing out a regular grid, because I was like, I need to get this done. This was all like Monday of last week or Sunday of last week. I'm like, I want to get this done to get my video up on Wednesday. And the grids weren't working out, like the spacing wasn't. I tried using different tools, which I'll show you when I talk about pros, cons, and user error, and everything just fell apart on me. Like, honestly, it all fell apart on me, and I had to walk away from this for a week, almost. Like, I think I was trying to get it done on Monday, and I just couldn't, so I set it all aside, and I got very frustrated. I had to pull out a bunch of stitching. It was awful. And so I left it until my in-laws went home, and then I picked this back up on Sunday. Or Monday. Sunday. I picked it up on Sunday. and started to work out the grid again. And then I think walking away for a week helped. So then I did a very little of it on Monday because I had other things I needed to take care of. And now today is Tuesday. And today what I did was I finished out the grids, the quilting grids. Then I trimmed all of the edges and bound the placemats. Yeah, so really the steps are very simple, right? Without going blathering on. Basically, you cut out your panel, your fusible fleece, and your backing panel all to the same size. You also do that with the coasters. You cut out enough fabric to make your binding strips, and then you sew 2 strips together per placemat. From there, you fuse your pieces together, then you finish off your coasters pretty easily by just sewing them, flipping them inside out and doing a top stitch, or right side out and doing a top stitch. Then you quilt your placemats, trim your placemats, bind your placemats, and you're done. This is supposed to be an extremely easy project. That was not that good for me. So without much more babbling, I'll show you what they turned out like. So here's placemat number 1. Here's placemat number 2. And here are my coasters. Okay, so the coasters are pretty straightforward. Here's the front, here's the back. They're not super straight. I don't actually mind that. I kind of like them looking a little wonky. They're not perfect squares because one's not even the same size as the other. Lovely. They're not perfect squares because like I said, I didn't have, they weren't cut right. I have to find, where's my scissors? Oh, I put my scissors away. Oh no, I put them right here because I want to talk about pros, cons, and user error. There we go. So those are the placemats, or coasters, nothing to complain about. Pretty simple, very straightforward. It's a cat. I love them. Now, here's the placemats. One somehow ended up being a different size than the other. They're balanced on this side, and you can see they're not on that side. Don't know how that happened. Anyway, here's the top. Here's the back. Right? Here's the back of the second one. Apparently, I thought I got all of these. I did not. Here's the back of the second one. Here's the front of the second one. There's not a whole lot to say about them because they're pretty simple in their project. So let's talk about pros, cons, and user error. Pros. It looks nice. They're not really my style, but I'll put them out on my table for the next week or so for Halloween. I have a pumpkin theme going on in the house, so I guess this will go with it. I don't know if it'll go with quite what my table is set up to look like, but I'll insert a photo and you can let me know what you think about it. More pros. I've never worked with a panel before, so that was interesting and fun. Kind of gives me ideas on what I can do in the future, possibly. So yeah, those two things. I was really looking forward to this being a very simple project, and I'm not blaming Sewers Club for the fact that it wasn't. I'm putting most of the blame on myself. Also, I really like these little coasters. And I like the pattern in general. I like the look of it. It's not usually my thing, but that's okay. When I get Sewers Club, I recognize the fact that I may not like every project. Cons. This could just be personal opinion, but I hate binding so much. I do not have the patience for it. I never get my corners to look as nice as they should or as crisp as they should. Yeah. Also, for the first time ever, I feel like the instructions led me astray a bit, and how if I had paid attention to the paneling a little bit better, I would have had enough for these two things without scrimping and stuff. It's only 1/4 of an inch, but when these are only 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, that can be much. And that's my biggest problem in this pattern, is that I do not feel like they gave me enough wiggle room in the extra fabric in case you made a mistake. Like, there is no leftover orange at all, right? Just these like few strips from the binding, right? Which is fine, right? Like, they give you more than enough fabric, but if you cut one of your binding strips wrong, like, you don't have enough fabric to fix it. And then with this backing fabric, I realized that they were really trying to just keep it the width of the fabric in general, but maybe if they'd had me like piece together 2 pieces or something so that it wasn't so tight, I would have preferred that so much more. Yeah. User error. So there was a lot of user error on this one, mainly because I saw that it was going to be so simple. I decided to try to like play around with some of the detailing. And I honestly really, really liked how they showed how like tracing out this pumpkin, like this design looked really cool when it was quilted, and I wanted to try it. But it was too large of a project for me to try to do freehand quilting for the first time. So I'll pop up a picture, or maybe I did before, I'm not sure, of what my first attempt at freehand quilting looks like. And I used like my darning point or my darning foot and everything. Like, I looked up how to do that kind of style on my sewing machine. So it's more just not being familiar enough with it to try it on such a large project. What I'm thinking of doing is maybe doing a couple more coasters or something, and quilting those, or maybe the February project of last year was pot holders. Maybe I'll try those in freestyle, something like that. But I just know that this was too large of a project for me to tackle. And then user error number 2. I decided that because I'm playing around with new feet and things, that I would try out these. This is a quilting foot, I guess, and a quilting guide. I'll insert a picture of how they look on my machine together. And basically how it works is that this part sticks out of like the back of the machine and then kind of runs as a guide along here, right? While the foot comes through here, right? So you don't have to measure everything out, right? So you sew like this row, then you position it in the machine and have it so this row, and then you move everything over, right? And it goes kind of, it's hard to explain, but I thought I'd try it. And because my needle wasn't good, what I need to do really is go through and find my good needles and my bad needles. If anybody watching this has like a good way of being able to tell good needles from bad needles, please let me know. My mother-in-law just said, oh, you can feel them or look at them and see, but sometimes I can't. So maybe if someone who's been sewing a while can kind of give me like some tips and tricks on how to figure that out, that would be wonderful. Anyway, so using these things, the first time around that I tried it, I wasn't so sure, and I ended up making large curves in my quilting. You can kind of see remnants of it in one of them. And that's the one I did second. So it's in this one that you can kind of see things going off the rails. And then I ended up tearing out 4 lines and starting over again. And then this is what the quilting came out to look like. User error number 2 is that I bought new bobbins for my machine because they're, oh yeah, they're too wide too. Because I was having a problem, I ran out of bobbins. So I got these, and it took me a while to realize as I was trying to wind them that they're not as deep as these, as my original bobbins. So they weren't working, and it took me so long to figure it out. And that was frustrating too. So I wasted all this orange trying to figure it out. I can just like sew off of these bobbins, so it's not a huge issue. It's just more frustrating. And then what my mother-in-law suggested I do, which I didn't even think about, or first of all, what I ended up doing was doing the top orange and the back black in my stitching, right? So my bobbin thread was black, my top thread was orange, just so that I could get this project done without unwinding a bobbin. And what my mother-in-law suggested, and she's been sewing for probably longer than I've been alive. Actually, I know she has, because she made herself, I think she made her wedding dress and her sister's bridesmaids dresses for her weddings and for her wedding in the 70s. So anyway, she's been sewing longer than I've been alive. And what she said is when you're out of bobbins, all you do is you take a bobbin that doesn't have as much thread on it and you wind a new color over top. So that's what I did. When I finally ran out of black or got really low on my black and I wanted to do the binding all orange, I didn't want to have it orange on one side and black on the other because the fabric is all orange. I just did that. I wound orange onto my bobbin. And as you can see, I overwound. I put too much on, but that's okay. Well, I guess it's kind of okay because I actually ran out of thread because of all of the mistakes I made and winding these and overwinding this. I completely ran out of orange on my spool, which shouldn't have happened because, again, this was a pretty simple project. So lots of user error, and this thing took me way longer than it should have. I rejoiced over that because if you saw my alternate project video that I posted a couple of weeks ago, I talked about how impossible it felt like to do the quilting on the alternate pattern for September's Sewers Club box. So I was really, really excited to have something so simple, and then everything went so catastrophically wrong. Oh, my other user error is partly Sewers Club, partly me, and that's not quite understanding how to merge the binding at the bottom. So this one's merge is okay. It could be better. It could be a lot better, but I tried, and this is how it ended up looking. And then this one's merge, I thought that I did it better, but it's super bulky, and it's not even sewn together right. So again, if you have suggestions on that, like if there's a video or something that you really like, let me know in the comments and I'll go check it out. Because binding looks so pretty in the end. I just absolutely hate doing it. Like, hate doing it. Yeah, so this is where I normally talk about like what my cousin did. But she hasn't had a chance to put these together yet either. I don't think she's going to be able to talk about any of the projects again until January because her sewing schedule and her work schedule has really picked up. So you're only going to get my thoughts on this and probably on a few others. If my mother-in-law happens to put together any of her projects, I'll try to get some of her thoughts, but right now you just have mine. And yeah, so now we'll do part 4. Part 4 is final thoughts and opinions. I'm tired of quilting and I hate binding. The project itself is fine. I may consider doing placemats again in the future, maybe, if I come across some more panels. I don't know if I like panels in general. I don't know. Honestly, this is kind of one of those like middling projects for me. It's kind of a wash, but it's also, right, kind of fun to do. And I honestly just wasn't really in the right headspace to do this. So, as I've been saying in all of my videos lately, I had my in-laws come and visit for 3 weeks. And I didn't have a lot of time to concentrate on sewing, or on anything really. My mother-in-law helped me a lot, or suggested things, and then told me that I sew backwards. I don't have any formal sewing training, and I'm left-handed. And I guess that what that means is I seem to wind my bobbin backwards, or place my bobbin backwards, and I use my wheel for going, for moving the needle up and down. I do that backwards. And I thought that was kind of funny. I never thought about that, but I guess it's true. Or I guess it could be backwards. I don't know. It's just how I learned. But she gave me some tips and tricks, and that was kind of cool. But because we had other priorities, I just never got around to finishing them. And like I said, last week I got so frustrated with all of the different new things I was trying and my needle not cooperating and all of that, that it was just like calamity upon calamity on such a simple project. So I don't have good feelings about these placemats, and I don't think it's Sewers Club's fault. Just in the grand scheme of things, this one is ranking slightly higher than the ugly August purse that I just don't like. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at that because I still have to edit this video, and I already know I've babbled for way too long. So I will leave you with the standard sign-off questions. Oh, and also a reminder that I have a referral code to Sewers Club. Sewers Club does not know me, does not know that I'm doing these videos. If they are aware of these videos, they do not know who the person is who is getting them sent to their door. They don't know who their subscriber is, because the subscriber on Sewers Club is my real name, and sorry to say, but Fred is not that. Fred is an alter ego that I've had since I was a child. Anyway, if you would like $5 off of a Sewers Club box, let me know. You can DM me on Instagram or send me an email at my email address. Both of those are up on the screen for you. You save $5, I get $5, but this is open to anybody who has a subscription with Sewers Club. So if you already have a subscription and you know people who are thinking about getting it, mention to them that they have a referral code, and you can give it to them too. I just thought that if this is something that you're interested in buying and you want to save a couple of dollars, you can always use my code. But I don't want to post it on in my description box because I don't have an official relationship with Sewers Club, and it feels like that would be something I would do if I did. If that makes sense. Anyway, other than that, do you get Sewers Club? Were you excited for this project if you did? I've had feedback that there's only 2 colorways. There was the orange binding and the black binding. But if you got something different, let me know. My cousin got black. My mother-in-law got black. A couple of people in the comments on my last video said they got black as well. I'd really hoped there was going to be a cream, because I think cream would have been really pretty, but apparently not. Was this the box that made you decide to get Sewers Club? I've also had feedback that said this was the box that made them say, why am I getting Sewers Club? So that's interesting to hear. Yeah, and like, answer any of the questions that I've had for you in this video. Like, how can you tell needles are not so great? And do you have like quilting suggestions, binding suggestions, all of that? Let me know in the comments. I really enjoy reading them. And I think I mentioned this in my last video, but I am at 41 subscribers. So thanks again to those who have subscribed and are watching this. I appreciate you. I'm tiny, and it's nice to see that people like what I do. And with that, I'm going to say thanks so much for watching. Thanks for making it this far if you've got to the end of the video. I appreciate you, every single one of you, and especially those of you who consistently leave me comments in the subscription, or in the description. Leave me comments in the comments section. I know there's a couple of you that I see all the time, and one of you in particular is always in there, and it's always nice to see you, and thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!